Hey, how's it going this week? I'm Steven Webb and this is Stillness in the Storms podcast. And this week I'm going to do something a little different, and if you guys like it, I think I'll do it more often. But before we get on to that, today's show is what one thing would you teach the world? I put out to my Twitter followers this question and I got about 60 responses, and some of them were really fascinated, some of them were very much what I would say, very much the things I would like to teach the world, and some of them were just a little different, and I love them. They're so honest and so awesome that I just wanted to do a podcast sharing them with you guys. And I want you to think about, while I go through the list a little later in the podcast, what you would teach the world. But before that, I said I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to tell you some positive news stories this week. And I found a website, and they don't sponsor this podcast in any way. They don't even know I regularly go to their website. But it's called positive.news. I think most weeks they do an article that basically the positive news this week. I just wanted to go through a couple of them, and I just think it's a really nice thing to do. As well as a nice thing, it's like nice to have news that picks us up. Very often we think the world's dire and it's always going downhill and it's always getting worse. And that's just not the case, actually. There's many things that are happening in the world that are positive and pushing the world in the right direction. And we don't focus on that enough. So I'm going to. And the first one is Netflix committed to a net zero emissions. So Netflix, you no longer have to feel guilty about binge watching Netflix, because as from next year, 2022, and I like this because it's ambitious. So from next year, they're going to be net zero. So they're going to offset some carbon, and they're going to make sure they move to all electric vehicles, LED lighting. They're going to cut international travel. They're going to employ people locally and all that. So they're going to do all sorts. So that's the first good positive news story. The next one is a little closer to home for me. Beavers were reintroduced in Wales. After 400 years, they were wiped out across most of the UK. In actual fact, if not all of the UK, I think. I might need to check on that one. But an adult male and his offspring has been released into the Cors Daifi National Reserve in Powys this week. So that's good. You know, we need beavers. They are the natural keepers of the waterways. And they build up habitats and everything like that, and they prevent flooding, and just driving them out of the waterways like we have really doesn't help. And I'm in a city that suffers from flooding, and I think we've introduced beavers just outside of Truro. I might be wrong on that, but I think we have down at Dorbers somewhere. But anyway, I digress. Another good news, hydrogen planes were scheduled for takeoff. So a startup company, Zero Avia, a US-UK aviation company, claimed it's ambitious for a 50-seat hydrogen plane to be propelled towards. They've just received $24.3 million funding that is going to help them to deliver by 2026. So a plane that isn't putting any more chemicals in the atmosphere. How awesome is that? I don't understand why we don't have more hydrogen cars and hydrogen and everything. So, and you might wonder, what has this got to do with Stillness in the Storms? Isn't this exactly what Stillness in the Storms is? There'll be good news in the middle of the storm. Google Maps is to show eco-friendly routes from now on. In America, especially at the moment, I think it's going to come out to the rest of the world. When you put in a journey in your car and all that, it's going to show the most eco-friendly way of getting there, avoiding hills, avoiding things like that. There are more than 900 blue plaques on buildings across London, but pitiful few, just 14%, are dedicated to women. In a bid to even this out, English Heritage has been calling on public to nominate female candidates. And it was announced that Princess Diana, Ellen Craft are among the women to be remembered. Diana would have celebrated her 60th birthday this year. That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway. And finally, conservationists achieved the impossible in Scotland. A community in Scotland has completed one of the country's largest ever grassroots land buyouts and is now turning the estate into a nature reserve. They basically fundraised £3.8 million to buy 5,200 acres of land. How cool is that? And they're going to make it into a nature reserve. We need more of that, don't we? We need more of our land looking after. So that's the positive news, and you can head over to positive.news. It's a great website, and it's so much better to sit and listen to that or sit and read that while I'm eating my lunch as opposed to go to the other news stories that tend to be quite negative. So yeah, on to today's podcast. Okay, I've got a list, and I haven't got this in any particular order. I was going through them, and I just really enjoyed reading the results. And I didn't know that I was going to do a podcast when I put it out there. I just basically asked the question, if you had to teach someone one thing, what would you teach? And I was quite overwhelmed by the amount of response, actually. I was quite blown away. So I'm going to go through a few of the names, and I will go through a few of the results and give you my thoughts. And I'll give you my thoughts at the end. It was quite interesting, actually, some of them. So the first one, Lynn Lassard, talk to your body in grateful and encouraging way. Oh yes, we don't do that often enough, do we? We all need to look at ourselves sometimes and go, do you know what? This is the body I've got, and I should love it and appreciate it a little more. And there's a Raizuka Yuka says, help people who are in need in any way we can, no matter who they are. Yeah, I like that. And help them no matter who they are. I think that's the key there. And then quite a few people said love, or love in some way, loving ourselves, or love is everything. Nancy, Jennifer, Mama Martin, Suzanne, Dawn, Cola, Zara. And a few other people said about confidence as well. Josephine was one of them. Building up confidence and teaching confidence. And I think that would make a big impact on the world. If only my life were that simple, I suppose, to fish. Philly Cheese Eagle says to fish. I like that. You know, teach the world something. I would teach the world to fish. And we need all sorts of different people to teach all sorts of different things, don't we? It's no good everybody teaching one thing, because there's going to be a huge void in skills. And a few, Lorraine and Caroline and Babs, Charlotte and Catherine, all said a similar thing, to be kind. To be kind to one another. Kindness in some way. And absolutely. Yvette says to love ourselves. Yes. Understand his or her feelings. This is important. Joe says this, to understand other people's feelings. And our own, of course. And a few people mentioned about God. Teach people about God and religion. And not that I would be a big advocate of religion, but I think everything needs to be included in some way. Mark says, golf cart battery maintenance, of course. I think his account that's exactly what they do, sell batteries for golf carts. But yeah, absolutely we need golf cart battery maintenance, of course. Who doesn't need that in a world going forward? A few people also mentioned forgiveness is necessary for inner peace, and there's no peace without forgiveness. And trusting our instincts. Tedra, Maggie, Brian all mention that in some way. Dark Side Johnny, he says, guitar. Teach people guitar. Yes. What would the world be without guitar players? It would be a lot duller, that's for sure. Smiley Rose says, yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose. That's a quote by Lyndon B. Johnson. Yes, absolutely. And a few other people said about truth, to be true to oneself, and the art of being honest. Paulette Strofer Martin, the art of being honest. Tony Mayer says manners. Yeah, that's something my parents used to say all the time. Manners, dear boy, cost you nothing. I think I've still got my parents to say that to me now, actually. Where's the please? Where's the thank you? Melanie says, finding the capacity, the depth of understanding in sharing compassionate love. Yes, I love that. Definitely. Make your identity your strength. Shafiq says, yeah, Make your identity your strength. I cannot pronounce this guy's name or this person's name. My son, the power of being selfless. I like that. The power of being selfless. Selfless. So make it about other people. Jessen says swimming. Swimming. I like that. How to negotiate, Gary says. The value of one's time. Yeah. We don't value our time enough, do we? We spend time just wasting time doing stuff, procrastinating, avoiding life. We just don't value our time enough. I really do. Yeah, I resonate with that one. Graphic design. Yeah, we need that, Ezra. The ego is not your amigo. Your ego is not your amigo. I like that. Trugello. I don't know his first name or their first name. Positive one says empathy. Yeah. Amicable comedian says Forex trading. Yeah, we need that. I don't know if we need it, but yeah, it would be handy someone knowing Forex trading. The unusual Buddha says meditation. Oh, I'm in agreement there. I think meditation would lead to many of these other things. Meditation leads to loving ourselves, loving others, empathy for others, growing strength, being selfless. Meditation teaches many of these things. Perhaps not guitar or battery maintenance, but it certainly will grow wisdom in many other areas. Baby Bear and DG Edai says, love yourself. And Shabil says, self-respect. Arpin says, and this is the first time gratitude's come up, which is quite interesting. We've only got about 10 to go, and it's quite interesting that gratitude took so long to come up. Arpen Bagdi says, a sense of gratitude. Yes. Monica, to fight for freedom. Yeah, we need that. If you didn't have anybody fighting for freedom, we would lose our freedoms, I guess. Life in Colorado says, to simply always be polite. Comes back to the manners though, and simply always be polite. Yes. If you haven't got nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. And it comes down to the kindness again. It's just me says common sense. Difficult one that, because common sense is relative. And one person's common sense is not another person's common sense based on your experience in life. But I know where they're going for it. I know where they're going. I apologize now. This one's got a swear word. Judy Jules says, don't fuck up other people's spirit. Yo. I'm probably not saying that in the right accent. Be kind. That's it. Don't fuck up other people's spirit. You all. Be kind. That's it. Oh, I agree. Yes. Don't be an asshole. Ashley, crochet. It's oddly relaxing, therapeutic, and you can make sick blankets. That has to be my favourite. And I love the way she's put it. And my carer would say the same thing. Because if you ever see my videos, sometimes I'm wearing these awesome coloured hats. And one of my carers knits me them. I don't know if it's crochet or knitting. I have no idea. And Ashley says, crochet, it's oddly relaxing, therapeutic, and you can make sick blankets. How cool is that? Yvonne Doughty says, liberation psychology. Oh, yes, freedom. Freedom of the mind. Liberation. And my teacher, Jumpo, says, your angst is your liberation. So yeah, I would go with that. Councillor Moore says, stop. There is power in the pause. Breathe. Yes. The power of the pause. Cheryl always says that. Yeah, totally. Dr. At Legal says, if people didn't want things this way, they would stop doing it. If people didn't want things this way, they would stop doing it. I guess that's in reference to teach people to change their habits, change what they're doing. You know, if you're not happy with your life, do something about it. And Dami says, communication and networking. Communication and networking. And here's my ultimate favorite, and it's by Chris Brock. And I got to thank you, Chris, for this. It's a wonderful word, and it's one of those words that you see and you look up the meaning of, and you just go, Yes, that's it. And the word sonder, S-O-N-D-E-R, sonder. And it means the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own. The realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and as complex as your own. How beautiful is that? Imagine how much that would lead to in freedoms and in love and self-respect and careness and kindness, compassion for others. That every passerby is living a vivid and complex life as your own. Wow. I think that just goes right to the heart of the spiritual journey. Yes. And what's interesting is not one of those things about teaching comes up with English or maths or drama, or it's just interesting. Those school lessons just don't come into bearing when it comes to real life. We leave school with these academic subjects, these very head subjects. But it's not from the head that you live your life, it's from your heart you live your life. It's from your whole body. And it isn't until you start living your life from your heart that things really start making sense. The world starts making sense. The universe starts making sense. Others start making sense to us too. Nobody's totally wrong and nobody's totally right, including us. We recognize that we're all deeply perfect and deeply flawed. We recognize that everybody is looking for the same thing. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody's trying to prove something to somebody. And no amount of English and maths is ever going to teach that. But they're valuable subjects to have. They're valuable subjects to have, especially when you're counting your money or when you're having to read a book. So that's my podcast this week. And let me know by way of replying, if I post this on Twitter or post this on Facebook, please reply with your thoughts. And you can always go over to stevenwebb.com and message me and let me know what you think. I love having feedback. And you can always, if you're not up for typing, and I'll always just go over to stevenwebb.com, book in for a virtual coffee, 15 minutes, no charge. And it'll come up with a time in your time zone. And you pick a time and then we can hook up and I can meet you. I love meeting new people. Give me your thoughts. Tell me what you would teach the world. What would I teach the world? Take a deep breath, slow down, and just stop talking. Live from the heart. So on that note, stop talking. I love you guys, and namaste.